Good morning. I hope you guys are doing well. You had an amazing weekend and are currently having a good day. As for me, I've missed you guys. I know you missed me too. It is it is very gloomy outside. That's probably because it's been raining for the past 2 days, but this video is going to be different. I'm not going to talk about a book or why certain chapters of that book stood out to me. Today I'm going to talk to you guys about why I decided to read books and the books that changed everything for me. But that's an overstatement. It's a book that's very special to me. I'm going to introduce it to you guys. And if you've read the book, let me know what you think about it. If you haven't, I don't think you're going to like the book because it is very niche, right? It appeals to a very niche kind of population that I'm part of. So if you have read the book, let me know. If you haven't, I'm going to say amazing things about it. But before we go any further, if you're new here, my name is Ivan. Welcome to Books by Ivan, and I read books and I talk about them. Sorry, I'm like halfway through editing the video. I need to mention that this video will be divided into two parts. The first part will be the history behind why I started to read books, right? It will also include my all-time favorite, the book that has a special place in my heart. The second part of the book would be why I love reading books, and especially why I love reading classics. So part one is a little bit of history about myself. The second is why classics, why books in general. With that being said, as always, make yourself comfortable, grab a cup of coffee, and this is this is why I read books. Alright, I'm not going to tell you guys that I read books because I wanted to become more intelligent, I wanted to expand my vocabularies. No, I will not tell you that. I mean, that's pretty obvious. It comes with reading books, but that's not why I read books. To understand why, I thought we have to take a few steps back, well, more like a few years back, go all the way to the past, and let's look at my 14-year-old self. Yeah, I know. It's a long video. I'm going to try to keep it under 15 minutes. So when I was 14, just like every other kid out there, I had a PlayStation. You may have had an Xbox, but I had a PlayStation. I would play video games, but I would feel I wasn't full, right? I didn't feel like by playing it, I was enhancing myself. That's an odd way to say things, I know, but I could not spend more than 2 hours on my PlayStation. Think back, right? That was when Fortnite was still the amazing game it was. What else? GTA, Apex, all those games, right? That was when they were at like their peak, and yet I could not spend 2 hours on my PlayStation. I was bored literally after 2 hours of playing, sometimes even 1 hour of playing. I would just log off and go do something else, right? But then I discovered anime, and I was like, ooh, okay, what if I just watch some? Which I did for a little while, but then guess what? I got bored of it. But then I realized that anime comes from written text, also known as light novels. So I started reading light novels, and from those light novels, I started reading fantasy book. And some of those fantasy books include, I'm gonna have to take this entire thing down to show you guys. Some of the fantasy book include I know you guys know this book. It is The Fourth Wing. And the whole trilogy, I mean the whole trilogy of the Inheritance games. I've read those books, but did I like the book? No. They were great. Don't come for me. Do not kill me. They were great. But I could not finish, especially the trilogy. I could not finish because of the sexual tension between characters, right? I simply could not bear it. That's not why I read books. But these books just, I couldn't. I simply couldn't, so I stopped reading it. And also why I stopped reading fantasy, because every single fantasy book that I've read somehow, some way had sexual tension in it, and that's not why I read books, okay? I'm not here to fantasize about characters. I don't do that. But the book that took me away from fantasy is the book that I consider to be my favorite. It has a special place in my heart now and forever will. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce you guys to The Color of Water. You can't even see because it is extremely, there you go. The Color of Water. This book has my heart. It has a special place in my heart that I think no other book would ever be able to surpass. Am I going to find another book that I'm considering that I would consider to be my favorite? Yes. Yes, I will find other books because I've read about 16 books so far. And I started reading, 4 months ago? I'm going to find other books. I didn't finish reading 16 books. I have 16 books lined up. Out of the 16 books, I have read about 10 books. Right? But this book is the book that got me away from fantasy. If you haven't read the book, I highly recommend you do. Because, at least to me, this book will show you what life is like from people with different background and the struggle that they have to go through to achieve, I'm not going to say success, but to achieve a happy life. And it will make you appreciate, right, what people, especially people with immigrant background, have done to be where they are. If you read this book, you will, take my word for it, you will really enjoy it. That's why it has a special place in my heart. If you were part of this channel for the very beginning, you recognize some of these titles. You do. White Knights, How to Die, The River Between, Letters to Milena, Despot Zarathustra, Crime and Punishment, all this good book. Right. The reason that now I am so much in love with classics is because I get to travel, okay? I get to be in place and time that I will never, never get a chance to be at. And I get to see what the world was like, what they experienced. It is a journey. It's better than video game because in video games you're playing. You're just having a controller in your hand. You are aware of what you're doing. But as I'm reading a book, like right now I am reading Despot Zarathustra. Every time I open this book, hours will go by and I will not notice. I would be so much, I would deep dive into this book. I will get lost in time and in the events. That's one of the reasons why I started reading books, okay? It's not to get intelligent or to get intelligence or to enhance my speech. I wanted to dive into something that will transport me to a new place, that will make me fall in love with something else, that will make me see things from a different perspective, that will make me love being alive. You know, reading books is a privilege. It's something that my younger self would have never imagined I would love doing, right? In case you didn't know, which none of you do know, I never, and I mean never touched a book until, oh, when was it? Until I was 14. I spent 14 years without touching a book. Of course, the Bible, I've touched the Bible, I've read the Bible. That's not in the topic here. But as I started deep diving into books, right, I started noticing that I have a preference for certain things. If a book involved anything sexual, I'm not reading that. I'm sorry, okay? I'm not that type of person. I will never read a book like that. If you catch me reading a book like that, I want you to knock some sense into me because I will never read a book like that. So I started going towards classic, and within those classics, I discovered Letter to Milena, which I really, and I mean really loved. I finished it off camera, and let me say that this book is a 4-star. The next book that I started to read was, which was it? The book that one is recommended and I really loved, The River Between. Next up was, I believe, How to Die by Seneca, White Knights, Crime and Punishment, and as I mentioned earlier, I'm currently reading this book, Zarathustra. Classics. Classics are my favorite because of the storytelling and the way they incorporate philosophy into it, right? I wrote an entire section about it. I'm going to read it verbatim what I wrote earlier. Let's see, where was it? Right. The reason I like classics is because of the complexity of the characters, and as I mentioned earlier, the psychological, no, philosophical, I should be saying, depths that are in the book, right? Classics, they usually talk about, how do I say this? Let's see. They explore timeless themes, right? Like love, betrayal, justice, human nature, all of that good stuff bunched up into one. It is addictive. I want more after I'm done reading a book, right? That's why I'm not going to tell you this. At least I don't intend on doing it until later. That's why I really enjoy reading classics, and I'm sure that if you have given it a go, you will love classics as well. If you like to read, fantasy, that's completely fine. You do you, okay? I don't judge. No, but seriously, I don't. But I'm more of a classic gentleman. Just like how I like to listen to jazz and classical music, I just believe that classical books are superior. I hope I didn't offend anyone by saying that. I really don't. But I'm going to keep this video really short. The reason, and this is the final say, the reason I decided to read books, it's because I wanted to explore something I didn't before. I wanted to go to places I've never been. I wanted to dive deep into the history, the storytelling, the complexity of certain characters, certain books. I wanted to better myself, which is why when I'm done reading a book, I stop, I take everything, at least majority of the things from the book that I'm done reading, and I try to incorporate it within me. That is why I decided to read books. There's nothing else, nothing more. With that being said, if you have something that you'd like to say, if you want to share a thought, let me know down in the comments. Please make sure to like, subscribe, or comment if you want to. And remember, it's always better to read than not to read. Have a good day and be good people. Bye.